Welcome to a special episode of Seven-Sided Die's Carpathian Adventure. For those of you who have been joining us along the way, you know that Gundrik Vauxhall, aka Dylan, has been separated from the party somewhat. So tonight we're doing something different and we're giving it a try, and we hope you find it entertaining, but we're going to do it anyway. We're trying to catch Dylan up with the rest of the party and or see where it takes him. So he's joining me via Skype for this session of the Carpathian Adventure. Dylan, let's see if this works. How do you see me, hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Yeah, and I think I'm slightly off of your camera, just because of the way it's all angled. When we last left off, Gundrik Vauxhall he had summoned a spell that cast a spell that summoned some type of huge beast with butterfly, moth-like wings. It didn't so much as obey him as started tearing about the tiny room, this 7 by 7 foot room inside the ship that you were in. And then in doing so, it also released you, and then it ripped through the side of the vessel and blew out the side of it. Unfortunately for everyone on board this slaving ship, it also started to sink the vessel at the same time, which turned out to be a good thing for you, sort of, kind of, maybe, we'll find out. Where you then jumped out the side of the ship and turned yourself into a shark at this point. You are now a massive, giant, it's not necessarily a great white, but a massive, giant shark. What are you doing?
I'm going to head over to Nikolai and kill him.
Nikolai, the captain of the ship?
Yeah.
Okay, as a shark, Gundrik has an intelligence of...
1?
No, Gundrik has an intelligence normally of...
9.
9. Oh, okay. I thought he was smarter than that, but still,
Yeah, no.
he's about average. he's about average.
His plus 5 charisma makes up for it.
There you go. He's very charismatic. Your shark is an intelligence of 1. So you've got, in the water in front of you, 20 bodies swimming about. Your shark brain says to you, food. It's kind of difficult to discern which of these flailing about bodies is this person. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I have here a D20. I'm going to roll a D20, and I'm not going to do it on Discord because I can't show you what it is. That is the number that he is. Okay, I'm setting that aside. So what I need you to do is on Discord, go ahead and roll a D20 if you would. And that's the body you are heading toward. And as you're heading toward it, the ship kind of starts to roll. It's got this hole in its side, and it's rolling over on its side. So you're heading toward number 11. That worked out perfectly well. By the way, Eli, if you are watching, thank you for loading the bot. That is very, very cool. That's very, very helpful.
It's also very useful, yeah.
So you see this one body flailing about in the water, and you're heading right. Your shark sense is just heading straight toward it. I'm going to say you have not only initiative, but surprise for all intents and purposes.
So that's advantage, right?
I'm sorry?
So is that advantage then?
Sure, I'll give you advantage on this body.
Well,
yep.
Also, sharks have the blood frenzy, so I have advantage on anything without all its hit points.
Anything that has already damaged.
Without all of its hit points.
Correct.
So anything that has any point of damage, I have advantage on.
Right. I'll buy that. Yep. Understood. Yeah, it's kind of like how out of game a shark has it senses blood like some absurd distance away and can actually...
Yeah, it's actually called blood frenzy, the ability.
Well, I don't mean in-game. I'm talking about real life. But yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can easily swim. I think you move at like 50 feet. you swim right toward this. Roll to attack with advantage.
Yep.
Using the Discord.
And then the good thing about this too, though, is that it shows you each separate roll. So my highest one was a 12, so that's +9 to hit, so that's 21.
Okay, give me 1 second here. Maybe just pull up those guys. Believe it or not, your teeth go up and you slam into it. For some reason, it just kind of slid outside of your teeth, just missing it at that point. Do you have any other attacks?
I don't think so. I think that's my only action.
Okay, that one. What would he do at that point? I think he's just going to try and kick you to try and... I think this guy, you see this figure, all you see is from the torso down, and for you, it just looks like food. It doesn't really look like a...
person.
A person. I don't know if a shark would know what a person is, but you see this thing, and it like one of its limbs comes up and pushes back down at you again. And what's your AC?
13.
13. And you feel it push against you, but it doesn't have any effect at all. As a matter of fact, it kind of pushes right past you at that point. The vessel that you wouldn't know it's a vessel, but this large object kind of rolled over onto its side, and that figure that you're currently attacking seems to like kind of tilt upward and start kicking toward that vessel. It's not moving very fast. It's moving at basically at its max speed at like 15, maybe a dash, double that at 30 per round. So, I mean, I know even at 50, you're going to catch it. It is the top of the next round. What are you doing?
Swimming towards him and biting it again.
Roll away. I'm going to say you still...
Oh, wait, hold on. That was damage, my bad.
Okay. Roll away. I'm going to say you still have advantage because you're kind of catching him from below at this point.
Yeah. Hold on. Mistyped there. Oh,
Boom.
Wait, so 9 plus 9, 18.
Okay, still, I don't know why, but you like...
Yeah.
Oh, 9 plus 9. This is just the die roll. Okay, you chomp down on it. So you're plus 9 to hit?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so I didn't take that into account before. Anyway, maybe you did hit before. You chomp down. Your teeth clamp down on this guy. Roll damage.
I did previously on accident, so it's 14 plus 6, so 20.
20 points of damage. This body just rips right in half. Blood is just spewing. It just creates this fog of red mist in the water there as this one body is torn apart. You have this, your mouth is full with limb parts at this juncture.
Okay. I'm just going to look for the next body.
Okay, let me see. There are still 20 bodies in the water. Another one fell into the water at this point. And you still have initiative. You're in your killing frenzy.
Okay. Question. I told the Chiamere servant to kill everyone on the ship, so is it still here and doing that, or am I by myself?
Chiamere, what's it? Oh, that's the name of the spell. Is that what you're saying? It's not, but it's not a chimera, or chimera. The, in your present form, you wouldn't know. I'm going to say roll a perception check with disadvantage.
Okay. Perception is wisdom, which is just 0. Oh wait, perception plus 3 as a shark. Oh wow. With disadvantage.
Yeah, because you're kind of focused on these folks underwater.
So 5 total.
So 5 total. You don't see anything at the moment.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So next body.
You're kind of fixated on something else. Top of the third round.
Should I roll for next body?
Sure. Roll for. Tell me the number you're attacking.
9.
9. Okay. The first one was number 11. The second one was number 9. Right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Roll to hit.
I'm rolling with advantage.
Yes, I'm going to give you that. So you're +9 on top of the 15. You hit.
Yeah,
you clamp down on this guy.
Okay, and that's going to be 27 total.
27 points of damage. You rip another one in half. The water is just filling. Roll a perception check with advantage.
With advantage?
Yes, please.
18.
18. You have a sense from your shark-like sense that other sharks are approaching as well.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Next one.
Sure. You ripped 3 apart in the water so far.
Yeah, I'm just going until everyone's dead. So, number 18.
Number 18. Okay. You swim toward the number 18, some other random body flailing about in the water. And again, they're all trying to make their way toward this huge object that they originally came from, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They're trying to make their way toward it. But whatever that object is in your shark-like brain, it was originally kind of oblong shaped, but now it's kind of like rolled over on its side kind of look, if that makes sense. Okay? Okay, you're attacking number 18. Roll to hit.
Roll to hit.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So still advantage?
Yeah, I'll give you it, because they're kind of fixated on something else.
So should I just call so is it just like advantage for all my rolls right now?
I'll tell you until it is no longer. How's that?
What'd you say?
For right now, I'll say yes until I tell you otherwise.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so lousy roll. 9, but +9, right?
13, yeah.
13. So let me just see. Which one was this? This one. That was number 18, right?
Yeah.
What's happening? Okay.
And for anyone watching the stream, I have stream chat up, so if you want say something, I'll be watching it.
Okay. Yeah, I can't really watch it right at the moment. Okay.
Yeah.
So you said what number was that? This one? You're attacking?
This was 18.
18. Okay, now this one looks like, if you can, somebody who doesn't have... It just almost looks... I know a shark can't tell, but almost peasant-like. But nonetheless, your brain says, eat it.
Yeah.
Okay, so roll to hit.
Roll to hit was my 4 + 9.
Okay, you hit. So roll damage.
Damage 26.
20. Not only do you rip it in half, you like swallow whole the lower half as you tear it apart. So that's 4 of them completely disposed of. And so you see some of them are up on top of whatever. They disappear onto this object, if you will. Okay?
Well,
go ahead.
Is the boat basically sideways? I know as a shark I wouldn't be able to tell, but is it sideways?
Sideways. What do you mean by sideways? You mean is laying on its side, in effect.
Yeah.
If it's
is it sinking rapidly?
It's hard to tell. So, like, if this is the vessel right here, okay,
yeah.
I know it's kind of small for you. And what you might see from your perspective would normally look like that as a shark. What you see from your perspective now looks like that. Does that make sense? So it kind of so if you're in the water, it kind of went
upright
or
upside down, yeah.
Laying on its side, kind of, because you punched a hole in one side of it. Does that make sense? And it kind of So there might be air trapped inside. I mean, but your shark brain doesn't necessarily know that. Okay, so it is the top of the next round. Nobody seems to be attacking you right now. They seem fixated. Well, you got
like a 30-foot long shark.
Put it all in perspective. 4 rounds have gone by, all of 24 seconds, right?
Yeah.
They're kind of fixated on preserving their lives at this moment. So go ahead and roll a number of who you're attacking.
3.
3. Okay, roll to hit.
18 plus 9.
18 plus 9. You did hit, but this time you chomp into something that feels like leather. You successfully do so. Roll damage.
21.
21. You chomp into it and you feel like your teeth clamp down, and then it sits there and it takes something and it swings down at you. And what is your AC as a shark? 13. 1 hit for you. Take a whopping 9 points of damage as you feel this. What your brain doesn't know is, but you feel like this scimitar or curved sword come pushing down into your body. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So you got your damage. How much damage do you have? You have like 100, some absurd amount.
Yeah, I have 126. I'm going to kill everyone.
126, and we just did how much to you? Did I say? There we go.
You said 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're keeping track though of damage. I'm counting on you to keep track. I'm not going to do it for you. Make sense? Okay, top of the next round. I'm going to say you have initiative, but not advantage on this guy right now. You're biting at this one in front of you. Now you can shift to somebody else if you want.
Well, sharks just naturally have the ability of advantage on anything without their hit points, like without all of them.
Okay, fair enough. So you have advantage on it, but you can shift to another one, or you can continue to attack him.
Well, this guy just attacked me, so I would want to kill him more.
Okay, go for it.
So 18 plus 9.
You hit. Roll damage.
16.
16 points. So you've done 37 points to him. This one appears to be still up. He goes ahead and you got a hold of his foot, a chunk of his leg in your mouth, and he sits there and his sword already down. He kind of twists it around again and jabs it one more time. And does a 16 hit you?
Yes.
16. Okay, so he does another 9 points of damage.
Okay.
Do you need to roll any, what do you call it?
Yes, I do need to roll
concentration checks? Okay, what do you roll for that?
I roll a constitution saving throw.
Okay, roll away. I think you just make 2 rolls.
Yeah, and so concentration is half the damage you took, or 10, whichever is higher. So both would be 10.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna roll them both at once.
Sure, that's fine.
See, I'm good.
You're good. You're flailing about in the water. This one guy is still there right in front of you. You have advantage on him. It's the top of the next round. It's the top of the 6th round.
Yep. Bite in again.
Yep.
That's going to be 22.
That hits. Roll damage.
9. Oh. 19.
His body stops moving in the water as it comes to rest, and you feel like chunks of it in your mouth at this point. And he starts to flop about. Okay.
But is he dead or?
Yeah, you're pretty well. He's at least unconscious.
Well, I'm getting to kill the guy.
And failing his death saving throws rapidly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I'm still gonna try and kill him. Because as a shark, I don't know about any of this.
Sure. I'll buy that. I appreciate you. Okay, we're the big top of round 7.
to hit.
27 definitely. I mean, he was kind of a stationary body in the water at that point. Okay.
Yeah, for 35.
Okay, I'm going to say that he at least failed all 3 death saving throws with 35 points of damage, having been unconscious and in the water, and partially ripped apart. So his body just becomes a smear of red mist in the water at this point, except for the chunks that you have swallowed. There appear to be slightly, not a lot, but slightly fewer bodies in the water. Your natural perception says to you, 1, you killed some of them, ate some of them. 2, but some of them disappeared onto this object. And also, some of them were consumed by, there appear to be other sharks rapidly approaching in the area there. Okay?
I'm just going to keep attacking people.
Okay, there are about a dozen bodies left in the water. There are actually 12 bodies, exactly 12.
Okay. Oh my. Number 20.
Number 20. Okay, it appears to be someone very weak and floundering about, perhaps even childlike in the water. And rolled a hit.
Oh, Eli just found out something useful with this. If you look in the test one, I can actually roll with advantage and add the modifier, and it puts it all together at once.
Oh, cool. Oh, great. Thank you, Eli.
So, I'm just going to copy that really fast.
Sure.
Hold on a second.
Ryan, roll 1d500. You're too funny. Dylan just had to run and answer something real quick. Ryan is Dylan is back, but Ryan just texted. Ryan, also aka Balder, texted, roll a d500. Okay. I love it. Awesome. Too funny. Too funny. Too funny. God. I don't know. Would that even work?
Right now,
that's too funny.
This one guy basically is saying that I'm committing cannibalism because I'm technically,
you're a shark. You're a shark. How can you be committing cannibalism?
Because he's saying since I'm technically a human still, I don't know.
Who's saying that? I'm just curious.
Josh, the NES.
Oh, Josh, our one main viewer, Josh. Well, Josh, he's a shark.
I see him in a lot of our stream chats. Thanks for being a loyal fan.
Yes, Josh, thank you for being able to, as me echo what Dylan, aka Gundrik, said. Okay.
So roll to hit number 20?
Yes, roll to hit number 20. Critical. I'm just going to say, because I can't reach the cards.
Just say that the guy's dead.
Triple damage. We're going to say triple damage, because that's like the highest card other than some. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, which is probably death, but.
So 24 times 3.
20, yes. This small body flailing about in the water, you chomp down on it and you literally almost engulf it whole and swallow it. And as you do it, you sense it stop moving as number 20 passes away. Top of round 8, there are 11 in the water at this point. Roll the number of who you are attacking.
So I'm going to roll a d10. Just
sure.
So that in case I get a number above 11 or something.
Okay.
So 7.
Okay, let me just, to keep it fair so I don't, not challenge. Okay, so the guy is now that number. Okay, so you charge toward number 7. Roll to hit with advantage.
Okay. Just gonna look at the code for this one really fast. Uh,
28. Yeah, you definitely hit. So 28, you chomp down on this, roll damage.
20.
20. Okay, this one, similar to one of the other ones that you attacked, it is still alive. It's like flailing about. You got it like partially in your jaws, and he goes ahead and he swings away at you. Again, similarly, 18. Does that hit?
Yeah.
18. So he does to you 7. He does 11 points of damage to you.
Okay. Stand, concentration, maintain it.
Okay.
And
then it is the top of round 10. We're 60 seconds, a solid minute after the ship has rolled over on its side. Go ahead and...
I definitely have enough time to kill all these people, considering that polymorph is an hour-long spell.
Yeah, but let's go with it anyway. Okay, since we got the time here. Unless there's something chomping at our time.
So, bind the guy again.
28. You're right there with him. Go ahead and do your damage. 20. Oh, he looked like he was going to keep moving, but then he just suddenly stopped. And he flails about a bit, and he comes to rest. Top around 11.
Yep.
Another
Let's
one.
See what I'm going after next.
Okay, there are 9 in the water.
Well, I just rolled a 7 again, which is the guy I just killed, so.
Okay, roll a different die.
Yeah. 10.
10. Okay, 10. Okay, roll away. Roll to hit. Critical. Okay, we're just gonna, again, call it triple damage. Okay?
So unless I roll 3 1s somehow.
Yeah, it's possible.
Oh, wait, I forgot to add 6, so that's 28 times 3.
Another one perishes in the water. There are 8 in the water. You see, most of them are right next to the vessel, or whatever this large object is in your shark-like brain. So your attacks, because you're kind of like, you can't continue right toward them. You've got to slow down as you attack them. They're no longer at advantage. Because you kind of got to maneuver around this thing as they're kind of scrambling up onto the side of it. Does that make sense?
Oh, okay, yeah.
So they're straight up. They're not disadvantaged. They're just straight up attacks. The top of round 12. These bodies are still in the water. There are 8 in the water. Your attack.
Oh, so I can roll D8 now?
Yes.
2.
Number 2. Ooh, interesting. Go for it. Roll to hit. Straight up.
Okay. 16.
16. And, your teeth clamp down and just kind of, it slides out of your mouth as you clamp down. Okay, this one... He's going to, sure, why not? He's going to try and attack you anyway. 27, I assume. I'm sorry?
It's 13 to hit, so.
Yep, I'm sure he hits you. And he takes, or rather, he does 14 points of damage.
Oh, okay. Maintain concentration.
Okay. You maintain, okay. Awesome.
And then because he doesn't have all his hit points, I have advantage now.
Yes, top of round 13.
25.
25, you hit him.
27 damage.
Ooh, 27. How much did you do the first? Oh, you didn't do any. That's right, 20. Okay, he's still, you bit into him, but your teeth let go at the last moment. You did a massive amount of damage to him. He's blood. There's blood in the water as it spews.
Oh, I just realized he still had all his hit points, actually, so it would have actually been just a 20, not a 25 to hit.
You still hit.
Okay.
You still hit.
Just making sure.
No, that's good. But you did 27 points. his leg, he pulls away and he's like flailing about. He's still actively going. It's his turn. He swings away and 27. I'm assuming that hits. And he does 7 and 5. He does 12 points of damage to you.
Okay. Concentration. Maintain.
Okay. From this large object that is where these figures are flailing about, from this huge object you see floating in the water, these splashes of water start flying down in your direction and toward the direction of the other sharks. You see these like whoosh, 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 whoosh. Does that make sense?
Are they coming from the people or from something on the ship, or can I not tell?
You can't, it's really difficult to tell as you're kind of fixated on this figure, your eyes on either side of your head, kind of fixated on these figures in the water. 3 of those objects come toward you. And one, what's your AC?
13.
13. 2 misses, 1 nat 20. Again, I'm just going to call it triple damage for the sake of argument. Okay? Because I don't have any other... It's too complicated to get at the cards right now. Okay. 15 and 12 is 27 points of damage.
Okay. Does the third one hit me?
No, just 1 arrow hits you.
Okay.
Well, you don't know it's an arrow, but 1 arrow hits you.
Yeah.
It was just a really critical location on you, if that makes sense.
So 27 round up is 28, so I need to make a 14 DC. Oh my god. Shark form drops.
So you're no longer a shark?
Correct.
Okay, so Gundrik is in the water, flailing about. It is the top of round 15, I believe, correct?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so what... You have initiative. What are you doing?
So, the guy I was attacking is still alive, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, you hit him once. I mean, pretty heavily for 27 points of damage. He's in the water. You're in the water. You're both in the water. What are you doing? It's the top of round...
I'm going to attempt to Eldritch Blast him.
I'm sorry?
I'm going to Eldritch Blast him.
Okay, excuse my ignorance. That works underwater, no problem, I'm assuming, right? Well, you could be partial. You could stick your hand up above the water. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, to hit, that's going to be... 22.
22 hits. Roll damage.
Oh wait, I have to roll to hit twice because I'm firing 2 beams at him, so...
Sure.
So it ended 12.
12 is your roll to hit?
Yeah.
All right, roll 12 does not hit. This guy.
Okay. So then it's going to be... So he takes 1 of the beams, so it's going to be 8 damage.
8 damage, okay. He is still... Okay, so now Gundrik is in human form. You have all of your traditional human senses. I'm assuming you had to, at least momentarily, poke your head above the water to see him and cast that or something like that. You can dive back down. It's not going to affect anything.
Yeah, I'm
Not
gonna
yet.
dive back
But
down.
you
Like,
would...
do I see the city or is it on the other side of the boat?
Well, hold that thought. So you see that he appears to have been one of the leaders. The guy you're looking for is up on the side of the vessel, pulling him up onto the vessel, as well as there appear to be approximately 10 people on the vessel, on the side of the vessel. You can tell very clearly that it's a ship on its side, and there's 10 guys like standing on the side of the vessel.
Okay.
You also know, because a glimpse of a memory from a moment ago somehow retained in your brain that the water is filled with sharks and blood.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Just...
Also, shouldn't I be able to, like, remember what I do in polymorph? Like, I would have, like, I wouldn't necessarily have complete control over the form, I get that, but when I, like, remember what I would do during it, because I maintain my personality and everything, so...
So, you mean while you're a shark?
Yeah, like, when I remember what I was
doing. Okay, I've gone round and round on this, and I talked to a couple other people. My take on it is that you assume that form and those stats. I mean, that's the rules as written. So yes, you retain your personality and your, quote, alignment, but we don't use alignments, so it's whatever your personal motivations are. But you become a shark. You had an intelligence of 9, and now you have an intelligence of 1. So even if you had all of that information, the question in my mind as the DM, would you be able to process that information?
Oh, okay, I see what you're talking about.
Does that make sense? So there might be glimpses of memories of things in your head, but the same way you and I process information, would you now with a 1-year-old, imagine going from being a 10-year-old to a 1-year-old. Okay. Now,
I'm trying to...
I mean, that's not a perfect... It's not a perfect analogy, but would you necessarily be able to process information in the same way? Some DMs disagreed with me, some agreed with me, some gave me other perspectives. This was kind of a conglomeration on that. The bottom line is, when you assume your polymorph form, you are not a super intelligent shark.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? You are a shark with glimpses of memories and personality, whatever your personality was of Gundrik, but albeit in shark form or in ape form or in what have you. It didn't come into play last time because there were only basically a cliff and some people to attack, and that's it.
Yeah.
But does that make sense? I mean, so if you polymorphed yourself into, I don't know, let's say for sake of argument, a dragon, I don't know if you probably can't.
At 9. Yeah, well, I'm able to cast 9th level spells. That was 17,
okay, but okay, so when you polymorph, now that's a super intelligent creature.
Yeah.
Would it, not only would it have your memories, but it would also have the ability to process that information.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, so imagine other way of taking a look at it is, so you've got this massive hard drive with all of this information on it, and you can run it on a processor with an i7 and 16 to 32 gigabytes of RAM and Windows 10, and it may run great, or you can throw it on a compact 64, and sure, you've got a terabyte of memory, but it just can't do anything with that memory. Does that make sense? Okay, so you're in the water right now. You're flailing about. Well, you're not flailing. I mean, you're swimming, and it's top of the round. What are you doing?
So, I want to look for 2 things. I want to see if the servant thing is still here, and I want to see where the city is.
Okay, roll a perception check with advantage.
Okay. Perception is going to be that. 19. 19.
Okay. You see this object like flittering about in the sky, but it almost seems like it's distracted by something else off in the distance. as you look around, you realize you're in what is the equivalent of the Aegean, if you will, going from the Mediterranean up toward on the east side, Anatolia on the west side, Greece and Byzantium, and kind of channeling itself up toward Constantinople and the Bosphorus, if you will. You are about your closest point, because, and he kind of alluded to this, that he was heading toward Constantinople. You're about, give or take, as best your eyeballs can quickly calibrate in 6 seconds bouncing around in the water, you're about 10 miles south of Constantinople, probably about 12 to 15 from Anatolia, and maybe about the same, maybe slightly less from Greece and Byzantium, or the kind of the rural area, rural coastline of the two of them, maybe Athens. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So.
Just gonna try and get some more lighting.
Yep, no problem. And so that's where you are right now. You're processing this very, very quickly.
Yeah, but like, do I see the city? Like, is it visible to me, or is it on like the other side of the boat, or what?
Yes. There's no reason why you would know this. You've traveled the ocean. If you were to stand on the surface of the planet, on a level surface of the planet, you could see 14 miles to the horizon. So the fact that you can see the city says to you it's closer than 15 miles. And it's just a calibrated guess that you could see this fortress-like thin structure, perhaps some lights of it, and what have you. It's not nighttime, but just little sparkles here and there, about 10 miles to the north.
Okay. And I see the servant up in the air, you said, but it seems distracted.
The waters around you are filled with blood, figures bobbing about, other ships going to and from. They're not really super close by, but other ships going to and from Constantinople. You see approximately, at a quick glance, 8 other ships slightly off in the distance coming to and fro. It's a very busy, probably you would know as a Venetian trader, it's probably the busiest waterway in the world.
Yeah. How far would you say the closest ship is, other than the one that's currently sinking? Or like on its side?
Sure. Let me just roll a die here. It is approximately 700 yards. So 7 football fields.
So that's 2,100 feet. Okay. That's an issue.
Is that good or bad? You don't have to say.
2,100 feet in the water is gonna not be fun. And how many people are on top of the ship?
I think I said there were 10.
Okay.
Yes, 10 on the ship. The ship that's right next to you, very clearly to Gundrik, is not going anywhere.
Yeah. Do I see Nikolai among them, or?
Roll a perception check with it. Well, I told you, you saw him pulling the other guy up.
Okay. I'm going to scream up and say, "Hey, Nikolai, help me out here."
Wow.
Yeah.
Roll a persuasion check with disadvantage.
Okay.
I mean, you're
So disadvantage is going to be a 17?
He looks over in your direction and he says, "Yes, Sahib, this is your fault."
How is it my fault? What did I do?
I was told they took the lemon and Indian pea from your mouth, and then That thing! He waves his hand up to this beast flying around. That thing appeared, and you are the only one who could have brought it toward and on this ship.
Okay, how far away is the thing?
How far away is the beast?
Yeah, the flying creature.
It is constantly moving. I'm gonna say it's about currently about 700 feet away.
Oh.
It's not that far.
700. Is that within earshot?
It depends on how loud you can be.
Yeah, I'm gonna scream up to it in Aramaic, which is the language it was speaking, right?
Yes, it did speak to you in Aramaic.
Okay, so I'm gonna scream up to it in Aramaic and be like, "Hey, lift me out of the water, bring me to the city."
Ooh, roll a persuasion check.
Okay. Oh, come on. 11.
It glances over at you and it seems to look... It starts to dive towards you and then it sees some other object and it dives toward the water and you see it reach up and it grabs a shark that was literally at the surface, flies up into the air and kind of rips it to pieces. And it's not that it's eating it. It's almost as though it's looking at it with amazement. It's saying like, what is this thing that I have here? And it's like fascinated by its face, even as the shark's face sits there and like looks at it in its death throes.
Oh, I can work with this. I'm going to scream up to him and be like, "You're fascinated by the things of this world. I can tell you all about them. As long as you bring me to the city. That can be a bargain of ours. I tell you about the things of this world, and in return you help me out."
Roll another persuasion check. Straight up.
Yeah. I almost accidentally rolled a D208. 26.
It drops the shark-like forms and comes over, and it kind of hovers over you. Arrows seem to fly past it. A couple hit it, but it doesn't seem phased at the moment. What can you tell me?
What do you want to know?
What can you tell me?
Whatever it is you want.
Why? Tell me. Why?
Because I am intelligent. Because I am an inhabitant of this place. I summoned you, but it seems that you are not completely bound to me.
No, I am not bound to you at all. Tell me, what can you tell me? I want knowledge, information.
As do I. I crave it as well, which is why I spent my life learning about it. I learned everything that I wanted to know, and I can share it all with you, but in return, you must work for me whenever I summon you.
No, I will never work for any being. It starts to go away.
Wait. How about we do it in exchange then? Not necessarily work, more like a bartering system. You do one task for me for every piece of knowledge I bestow upon you.
It pauses for a moment. Roll a persuasion check.
24.
It seems to be listening. Okay, that's the end of that round. Rather, the end of your part of that round. Several arrows come flying at you at this point. I'm going to say a D6 number of them. 5 of them come flying at you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I'll just re-roll one of them. Okay, 5 arrows come flying at you. What's your AC in? Oh, 1 natural 1. Somebody fumbles, hits themselves. It may even fall into the water. What's your AC?
13.
13. 1, 2 hits, and 3 hits. 3 arrows hit you. None of them critical. One guy seems to have either shot himself or somehow fumbled. 12. 30 points of damage.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, it is the top of round 17. You go.
This offer won't steer. Like, I'm looking at the arrows in me, and I look up at the creature and say, based on what's currently going on, this offer won't be able to stand for much longer. It's a take it or leave it deal, and if you leave it, you'll never be able to return here and find any more knowledge.
Roll persuasion with advantage. 27. It reaches down, it grabs hold of you and starts to lift you up. Do you allow it to?
Yep.
It reaches hold of you, it grabs hold of you, it actually pulls you out of the water and it starts flying toward the shoreline. Even as you see it flying toward the shoreline, you see it start to shimmer as if it's not staying in this plane, if you will. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we flying over the boat to get there or no?
Let me see. A D12. Okay, the boat, I'm going to say for the sake of argument, I'll let you roll. You roll a D12. That is the direction the boat in clockwise is from you right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so 10.
Okay, so you roll 10. So roll another D12. That is the direction this beast is flying. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
1. Okay, so
that's actually pretty good, though, because that means we're pretty much horizontal.
Yeah, so the beast is, the ship is off to that direction. You're kind of flying perpendicular away from it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not flying over it. I don't know what you intended to do. I mean, I can guess, but...
How far away is it?
How far away is the ship? It's really close. I mean, you were, when you were a shark, you were biting a guy next to it. You're probably 5 to 10 feet away from it as it starts to pull you out of the water.
Can I cast a spell right now?
I'm gonna. I mean, part of it was your negotiation with him. I'm gonna say I'll give you a chance, but it's gonna be a let's say because you're doing multiple. You had a conversation with him. At the same time, you're being pulled out of the water, and now you're trying to cast a spell. And say,
as soon as he pulled me up and started flying, I kind of wanted to hit the boat.
Okay, so you to cast a spell, do a, let's say for the sake of argument, an acrobatics check with disadvantage. Make sense?
Uh-huh.
Because you're being pulled out of the water all of a sudden. I can't think of another one off the top of my head right now that would work better.
Okay, so acrobatics disadvantage. 4 total.
Okay, so you don't manage to get a spell off just yet. Make sense?
Okay.
So it starts flying off toward direction 1, and it continues to fly. As it does so, a few more arrows come hurtling your way. 3 more arrows come hurtling your way as you're pulled out of the water. A nat 20. What's your AC? 13? 30. One other hit and a miss. And so we'll just call the nat 20 triple damage for the sake of argument. And 5, 10, 13, 13.
And they weren't aiming for the creature, they were aiming for me.
28. Those ones were aiming for you. There were other people on the boat.
Okay, yeah.
Does that make sense?
How much damage?
28.
I'm exactly 0.
Okay. So is that, are you conscious or unconscious?
Unconscious.
Unconscious. You're unconscious at this point. You're flying along. Okay, but you don't have to make death saving throws, correct?
I do.
Okay. You have inspiration, correct? Well, let's worry about that next round. Okay.
Yeah.
You're unconscious. You're flying across. Roll. Another round goes by. Make a death saving throw.
Success.
Success. Okay. You continue to fly along. Make a death saving throw.
Fail.
Okay. Now, if you have inspiration, you have no choice. Our rule is you have to use inspiration to reroll.
Okay, hold on.
Well, I know you have
yes.
some. Just subtract it.
Yeah, I know I do. So success then.
Okay, so subtract 1 from your inspiration stack. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
And I'll just, you're on your honor to do that. Okay, third, you continue to fly along. 6, 12, 18.
Fail. Another
Fail.
inspiration.
You're at 18 seconds into your flight.
Success.
So you are blearily conscious as you're
like
18.
1 or something.
I'm sorry?
Are we calling it 1 or are we calling it 0 or?
You call it 1.
Okay.
If it matters. Okay.
Yeah.
The form above you is almost disappearing. And it leans down, its head tilts down to you. This large, it's probably about 18 feet long. It tilts down to you and looks at you and says, "I will return for our deal." As you glance down, you see one of the other ships in the Aegean below you. He lets go of you as his body shimmers and disappears. And you fall approximately 120 feet. So
I'm unconscious again, no matter what.
Yeah, you're unconscious again, no matter what. But let's make sure you're alive. So as long as I don't...
True.
I'm sorry?
I said that's true, yeah.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. As long as we don't do what? Greater than 71? I don't think it's possible to do greater than 70.
As long as we don't do greater than 59, because I believe it's...
Well, it's not possible.
Negative my hit points.
It's not possible anyway. 120 feet times 12. I mean, it's 12d6. You can't get 59 anyway. I guess you could, but 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 37 points.
Okay, I'm alive. Heavily unconscious, but alive.
You slam into the deck of this other ship. You're on some other ship in the Aegean. Roll death saving throws again.
Okay. Success.
Okay.
Fail. Well, I'm actually going to have to go and grab my inspiration really fast. Just
Sure. Absolutely. While you grab it, everybody who is watching, we're doing an unusual solo session, if you will, with Gundrik Vauxhall, aka Dylan, who was separated from the party, and some of it for his own nefarious purposes, and now is trying to get back with the party. So we had an opportunity to try and do this via Skype, and I thought it would be cool to try and see how this worked out. So that's what we're doing. He just ran off. He is having to make some death saving throws. He just ran off to find out how many inspiration tokens he has. We use inspiration as a way of rewarding role play, what have you, and then you can use them to re-roll d20s, and that's what he's going to do right now. So as soon as he gets back, we will continue. And for right now, I'm going to throw up the "we'll be right back," and we will be right back. Thank you. As promised, we are back. Dylan went and found his inspiration tokens, and we are going to continue away here. Dylan, how many inspiration tokens did you have, and how many do you have left?
I had 6. I have 2.
Okay, so you just failed one.
In the past I have made. Okay, so I have 1 success, 2 failures. No, I have no failures and 1 success because I've been using inspiration.
Correct.
Okay, 2 successes.
Okay.
3 successes.
Okay. You drowsily wake on the deck of this ship in the Aegean. The sound of the ocean or the sea and the water around you. There are several figures leaning over you.
Uh-huh.
You don't recognize any of them.
Okay. Yikes. Hello there. Who are all of you?
Do you
I say... What language would the people here be known for? Because I've been to Constantinople.
Well, we use language groups. So, Hellenic?
Okay, so no, I don't speak that, so I have to say it in Adventurers Camp.
Roll, let me see if anybody speaks. Roll a d20. And roll under an 11. Okay,
3.
you do. You find one. One speaks Adventurers Camp. Very broken. And he says to you, he says, who are you? What was that?
That was just some random thing that picked me out of the water. My ship is sinking over there. Would you mind taking me to the city?
Roll a persuasion check. 16. They look at each other somewhat dumbfounded as to how to deal with this. I mean, they saw some kind of creature. This is a world. It is a natural world, but it is also filled with magic. So they've seen odd things, but this one they've never seen before. This man suddenly slammed onto their desk. Deck. Do you do anything to them?
No, I'm just trying to communicate.
He says, yes, for now.
I'm just reading the chat, and Brad's over here, like, going from the perspective of the guy, and he's going like, this dude falls from 120 feet up, and that's my boat and is still alive. I'd be freaking out. He's a demon. Push him off the boat. And also, for Josh, the NES nerd, Adventures Can't is this campaign's form of common.
Yes, but I don't like the term common. That's town.
Yeah, so Adventures Can't make more exciting.
Well, the way I look at it for Josh and for everyone else, anybody who is watching or will watch in the future or years after I'm dead watches this, the way I look at it is Adventurers Can't is a unique language that adventurers have to communicate with one another, but commoners don't necessarily speak it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So as opposed to D&D Common, which everyone speaks throughout the world, which I couldn't rationalize, but I figured if you were an adventurer, you might have something akin to Thieves' Cant where you could communicate with other adventurers. Plus, I need some rationale to allow you to communicate with someone. Does that make sense? Yeah. Otherwise, it's just craziness. So that's my rationale. It may not be right. It's just the way I do it. For now. Okay. Anyway, you are alive, and that's D&D rules. And I mean, it says up to 20d6, but my rules say you keep taking d6s up to 100 million feet. So
yeah. I mean, because once you get to like super high levels, people can just take that and walk away from it.
No, I don't limit it at 20d6. It's
yeah, exactly.
It's whatever it is times d6. But you did survive, and because you are not just a human being, you are in effect, I use this term very loosely, a hero, maybe an anti-hero, but a hero. So you don't have normal abilities or stats. Okay, so you slam onto this deck. They cautiously look at you, and yes, we will bring you with us. What was that thing that dropped you?
I have no idea. As I said before, just plucked me out of the water and dropped me here.
They look at one and roll another persuasion check.
25.
They look at one another somewhat askew. Some seem to disagree. You hear them arguing with one another in a language that you don't understand, but the ship continues to plod along. Eventually, they kind of back off. They very gingerly pick you up and bring you off to the side so that you're not in the way of folks coming hither and yon on the deck. Do you allow them to?
Yeah.
They kind of prop you up in a corner, bring you a cup of water, very cautious, not unfriendly, but at the same time not friendly, because they just don't know how to take you at this moment.
Yeah. And Brad actually just brought up a good point. The rules for D&D say that I'd be at 0, and I'd only be at 1 if I rolled a nat 20 on a death save.
Okay,
like
well, I'm not gonna.
I would be unconscious at 0, but with no death saves needed anymore.
Okay, I'm a human. I make mistakes.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna retcon anything I've ever done in the past. But moving forward, understood.
Moving forward, that's the rule. Okay.
Got it. I wouldn't do that to anyone else, so I'm not going to do it to you. What's done is done. Okay. So the ship continues to plod along its course. What do you do?
Is it heading towards the city?
You glance over the deck, roll, and you can very clearly see, you don't need to roll a perception check to figure it out. It is heading toward Constantinople.
Okay, I'm just going to sit down and try and take a short rest.
You have no problem doing so. You realize that it's probably at least about 3 to 4 hours out of Constantinople. And then...
Is that enough time for a long rest or just a short rest?
Definitely not a long. But
okay.
As somebody who's a trader in Venice, you would also know that once you even got into the port area, they would probably have what's called a pilot come on board to guide the ship and probably pull it with some rowboats or some outboats into its dock. It can't just drive up into its dock as a sailboat. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So you continue to plod along toward it. You have your short rest.
I'm going to use all 7 of my hit dice to try and regain some health during the short rest.
Okay, go ahead. Go for it.
So I get 30 health back, so I'm at 31.
Okay.
And I'm just waiting.
Okay, yep. I love this app. Eli, I love this app. Very cool. This bot.
It's amazing.
This bot. Very cool. Okay, so do you do anything over the next couple hours other than try and regain your health?
No, I'm just sitting there.
Okay, the ship eventually makes its way into dock.
Actually, while I'm sitting there, I'm asking people, like, what the ship is bringing. Like, what's the cargo?
What is the cargo? Sure. Give me 1 second. He says the cargo... I have these handy dice that show what it is. It is filled with giant flasks, these huge ceramic casks of what they explain to you is wine.
Is what?
Wine.
Oh, okay. Okay. And this is just me, like, I don't want to, like, slow things down or anything, but when you described the figure during the stream, you just described it as, like, grotesque with, like, the wings. Like, is it, like, humanoid? Like, what really did it look like?
Yes, it is humanoid.
Okay.
And I actually have a figure that I'll put out if it ever comes into play again. It's just not finished. It has waif-like wings. It's probably about the equivalent of 18 feet long.
Oh, wow.
That's the best way I could describe it. I mean, till I show it to you.
Okay, that's fine.
It's not the other figure you met before.
Okay.
If that's what you're wondering. I don't know if it is or not.
Yeah, I was wondering like how closely it resembled it.
Not at all. Well, I mean, other than being humanoid in form. I mean, humans are humans, right? I mean...
Yeah.
But other than that, no, it doesn't really resemble it. It does. They both have wings. These wings are more... Hold that thought. Let me... I'm not going to show it to you because it's not ready, but let me go get it and so I can look at it and better describe it. Okay?
Okay.
Hold that thought.
By the way, chat, that's just really funny, actually. I have to appreciate how you guys are able to come up with this stuff. And Brad, your puns today are just unbelievable.
Right.
He says on a boat with wine, and he says Gundrik, more like Gundrink.
Okay. It has okay, like many of my enemies, not real life, but in game, it has a female body. Okay?
Okay.
Don't take that in any way other than it has somewhat on one side of it reptilian skin. It has a blondish hair with a large medallion. Elf-like, yeah, like, but embedded in its skull. Elf-like wings, elf-like ears, rather. Elf-like ears, not wings. And the wings themselves look more moth or fly-like. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it's probably, if it were to stand upright, it would probably be about 18 feet tall.
Oh my god, this thing's huge.
Well, 3 times the size of a human.
Yeah, which is pretty big.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's a beast. I mean, not a beast. It's some kind of creature.
Yeah. And just how closely does the medallion look like the ones that the vampires have?
It doesn't look anything like it at all.
Oh, thank.
No, it's not. The thing that is embedded in her skull doesn't look like anything man-made. It looks like it's part of her.
Okay. So I'm just gonna wait on the ship then until we make port.
Okay. You have your short rest. Boat leisurely plods along, and eventually it makes its way into port. Several longboats. Go ahead.
So I'm just gonna climb down from the ship then?
Okay, well, it hasn't docked yet, but
yeah,
several longboats pull up alongside of it
mm-hmm.
and throw ropes down to it. You see the phenomenally busy port of Constantinople. Huge port. You've been here before. Many merchants by land and sea from all parts of the world, from Babylon to Mesopotamia, from Media to Persia, Egypt to Palestine, as well as Russia, Hungary, Serbia, Lombardy, Aragon, and Spain. They all come to Constantinople. It's jammed with ships, very busy. Ropes go down from your ship. It bobs along, and the 2 rowboats on either side start to pull it forward. The sail furls upward, and it pulls the ship into a berth, a dock. The individuals come up to you. We are in Constantinople. Is there somewhere we can take you?
Yes. Where's the Colosseum? Hippodrome.
You can see it from here. It's right up there. And you can see the Hippodrome. It's huge. It's absolutely massive. It towers, other than a giant church with a huge dome. It towers above everything else.
Okay. And also, is slavery legal in this time period? Like, were the things that the people on the ship were doing legal, or was it like black market stuff or whatever?
It depends on where you are in the world.
In Constantinople.
In Byzantium, in Constantinople, in parts of the world, slavery was still legal. In Venice, where you are from, and in most of Western Europe, with some exceptions, and I'm not going to split hairs with anyone, but with very few exceptions, it was considered taboo.
Okay.
And not accepted.
Got it. So I'm going to head towards the Colosseum.
Okay.
The Hippodrome.
They say, oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. Goodbye. So you start to head toward the Colosseum. The streets are jammed with people. Narrow. Unusually, you see that Constantinople seems to be in a little bit of a state of lockdown. As you pulled into port, guards came on board the ship. They didn't seem interested in you. They seemed more interested in inspecting the ship for seeing what it's bringing in, almost as if they're concerned about something heinous coming into the port.
Yes, because that hasn't happened already. Okay.
So you managed to meander your way into the docks, into the city itself.
And I'm going to pass through the marketplace on my way to the Hippodrome and just like take stock of everything here.
It is filled with every manner of object and thing you can imagine. If it could be purchased in the world, it could probably be found here. People come here to buy stuff wholesale, to sell it throughout the world.
Okay.
Probably akin to what Venice wants to be at this point in time.
Yes, okay. I'm going to look for stuff that isn't necessarily common any other place, like stuff that, like as a merchant, I would notice, like based in Constantinople mostly, or the Byzantine Empire.
Stuff comes from. Have you heard of the Silk Road?
Yeah.
Okay, this stuff comes from far Asia, across Asia Minor, all the way into Constantinople, and then it funnels back out again throughout Europe. So if you can imagine it, it's probably here. If you can imagine it, it's probably here cheaper than you would find it in Europe. The challenge is, one, buying it, and then two, transporting it to where you can subsequently sell it again. You should have no problem finding whatever you're looking for, but what are you looking for? I mean, within reason.
Yeah, within reason.
I mean, you're not going to find Gilmore's Glorious Goods here, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I'm just going to ask around and see what the cheapest store is.
The cheapest?
Yeah, the one that people pay the less money at.
Most of these merchants will lie to you, and you know that as a merchant yourself. They will tell you that they are the cheapest.
Which store has the worst product?
There's no Walmart. There's no Costco. There's no. It's a myriad of stalls and shops and what have you. So really, the question is, what are you looking for?
I'm looking for anything that's priced at like 20 gold or lower, basically. Can I like just browse prices?
Sure. You find all kinds of things. You find bolts of silk. You see weapons. You see casks of ale, huge casks, from small casks to massive casks. Some of them very, 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 very high quality. Some just low quality, but in bulk. Some you find trinkets and baubles of all different sorts, stuff to ornament palaces and what have
I'm
you.
going to try and find any of those trinkets that looks the most creative.
Okay, you come across the
most unique.
You come across this small statue, very, very carefully painted, and is holding in its hand an egg, and the egg is of incredible detail. It's finely filigreed. It is very, very carefully painted, and it's all very, very ornamented, and clearly somebody put hundreds of hours of work into it with this tiny statue holding it below it.
I'm going to ask an adventurer's cant, how much for this?
The person looks at it. He goes, this is a very rare object from Russia. For you, 15 gold.
Ooh, 15. Listen, I am a merchant myself. I understand how the trade works. I can tell when people are trying to rip me off. So is this guy ripping me off?
Roll a perception check. Since you are one with experience, I'll give you advantage.
Okay.
16. You're pretty sure that it's probably not. I mean, you might be able.
Would it be perception or would it be insight?
What did I say?
Perception.
Sure, insight. Sure, roll an insight.
Well, it's the same result. I was just wondering, what it would actually be.
Fair enough. That's good. I'll go with that. Okay.
So it's 16 either way.
16. You think you might be able to get a couple of gold off, but you know that it's probably worth much more than that in Venice and elsewhere.
I can see that time went into this, but based on what you just told me, it wasn't your time, so I can't really imagine it's that much valuable to you. Can you give it to me for 5 gold?
5. I'm sorry, sir. 12.
8.
Roll a persuasion check, straight up.
Okay. 15.
I'll give it to you for 11. That is my bottom offer.
Can you make it 10?
No. 11 is my bottom offer.
11 it is.
Okay. You know that you could probably easily sell it for more than 3 times that amount. He brings out a very finely crafted wooden box that has like padding in it. And he goes, it is very fragile. You will want to take care of it.
The box? Oh, that's awesome.
He gives you the box so that you can set it in it because he tells you it is very fragile.
Okay. I think I might start moving towards the hippodrome again.
You continue toward the hippodrome. Huge crowd.
And as I do that, I'm going to look at the box. How much could I sell the box for if sold separately? How ornately crafted is it?
It's a very well-made box, but it was clearly made to contain this object. The padding inside is kind of molded inside the box to hold the object. You would have to have it ripped out and then subsequently have the box modified to sell it separately. You might get 3, 4, if you spent 1 to 3 gold to get it modified. You might be able to sell the box for 5 to 6 to 7 gold. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But for the object, you probably will, in your mind as a trader, you could probably get easily probably 45, maybe 50.
Oh, yeah.
60 on a good day, gold for it. 800 miles from here. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So you continue toward the hippodrome? Yes? No?
Yep.
Okay, you continue toward the hippodrome. As you do so, you see up ahead of you several individuals looking at a sign on the side of the hippodrome, trying to read it, trying to see if there's a schedule or anything like that. You don't need to roll a perception check. You recognize them instantly.
Who is it?
You see Balder looking at this schedule, if you will, trying to read it. And it's not really a schedule. It's more like, hey, this is coming up a couple days from now, but you don't know that.
Well, I actually do, because I can read anything that's written down.
Well, they're a little ways off from you right now.
Okay, well, I'm going to head over there.
Okay, you head toward them. And you are meeting up with the party.
Caught up?
Yes. Did you have a good time?
Yes.
Okay, you killed, by my count, at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It was probably murder, but you still killed 6 people. Negotiated some things. I'm sorry?
Single-handedly as well.
Single-handedly. Do you have access to the Obsidian portal?
The Obsidian portal? I do not know.
The way you're expressing it, I'm going to say no. I'll send you again a link. I would encourage you to put a character background and a synopsis of things, because then you'll get 10% experience per session. So for doing this, I appreciate you taking the time to get caught up. 260 experience points. Okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Dylan, I hope you had a good time. I did. I hope you had a great night. You were caught up with the party. For anyone watching, thank you for watching this special episode of the Carpathian Adventure on Seven-Sided Die. We will see you again in not this coming Thursday, but the Thursday after that for another episode. Again, thank you for watching, and have a great night. And roll a 7-sided die.